The sun rose over the rolling hills of Epsilon Eridania IV, casting a golden glow across the landscape. New Hope Colony had just celebrated its 10th anniversary. 3 million people now called this distant world home. It was humanity's farthest outpost, 22 light-years from Earth. Jack Murphy sat at his desk, reviewing reports before sending his weekly update to Earth. As colony administrator, these reports were his least favorite task, but they were necessary. New Hope was thriving. The agricultural sectors reported record harvests. The new medical center was almost complete. Birth rates continued to climb. All in all, not bad for a bunch of humans on an alien world, Jack said to himself with a smile. He pressed send and leaned back in his chair. His office window offered a spectacular view of the colony's central plaza. Children played while adults chatted near the fountain. The massive dome overhead was nearly invisible, protecting everyone from the slightly toxic elements in the planet's atmosphere. Scientists said that in another 50 years their terraforming efforts would make the air breathable. Jack hoped to live long enough to take his first breath of Epsilon's air. The communication panel on his desk beeped. Susan Carter's face appeared on the screen. As head of colony defense, she rarely called without good reason. "Jack, we've detected something unusual on the long-range scanners," she said. Her expression was serious, but not alarmed. New objects in space were common enough. "Natural or artificial?" Jack asked. "Unknown at this point, but the gravitational readings are unlike anything we've seen before, not consistent with asteroids or comets." Jack nodded. "Keep monitoring. Let me know if anything changes." Within an hour, things changed dramatically. Susan called again, her face tense. "Jack, we have confirmed artificial objects. Multiple large vessels entering the system at high speed." Jack felt his heart rate increase. Humanity had never encountered another spacefaring species. First contact protocols had been established decades ago, but no one had ever needed to use them. "How many vessels?" he asked. 7 large ships, each approximately 3 times the size of our largest vessel. Jack stood up. "Send the greeting. Package on all frequencies. Follow first contact protocol, but place all defense systems on alert just in case." Susan nodded and ended the call. Jack looked out his window again at the peaceful colony. 3 million people who had no idea their lives were about to change forever. The greeting package was a carefully designed message of peace. It contained basic mathematical formulas, simple pictures, and friendly greetings in multiple formats. Scientists had spent years developing it as the perfect introduction to humanity. The aliens responded with fire. The first blast hit the colony's communication array. The second destroyed the small defense platform in orbit. Jack felt the rumble even through the colony's thick walls. The peaceful afternoon turned to chaos in seconds. Susan's voice came through the emergency channel. "We're under attack. All 7 vessels are deploying smaller craft. They're entering the atmosphere." Jack hit the colony-wide alarm. The familiar sounds of children playing were replaced by the wail of sirens and screams of confusion. He rushed from his office, joining the stream of people heading for the emergency shelters. The sky darkened as the alien ships descended. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Like massive crystals reflecting the sunlight, they moved with impossible grace for their size. Smaller crystal shards broke off from the main vessels, each the size of a small building. The colony's defenses responded. Missile launchers hidden in the hills fired their payloads. Laser defense systems targeted the incoming craft. None of it seemed to matter. The missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible barriers. The lasers reflected off the crystalline surfaces. Jack reached the main defense bunker where Susan was, coordinating their failing defense. "What are they?" he asked, watching the screens showing the attack from multiple angles. "No idea," Susan replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "But they're systematically targeting our infrastructure. Power plants first, then water processing, now manufacturing centers." "Casualties?" Susan shook her head. "Too many to count already." Jack felt sick. "Are any of our ships responding?" The Northern Star was approaching for a supply drop. "Captain, Bennett reports he's hiding in the debris field around the fourth moon. He's observing and recording everything. On the screens they watched as the invaders landed. Ground forces emerged from the crystal ships. They weren't humanoid as many had speculated aliens might be. They moved like insects but looked like walking crystals with multiple limbs. They carried weapons that fired beams of intense light. "They're not just attacking," Susan said quietly. "They're harvesting. Look." One screen showed the aliens systematically collecting metal, plants, even the bodies of fallen colonists. Everything was sorted and transported back to their ships with terrifying efficiency. The bunker shook as something hit it directly. The lights flickered. "Send everything we have to Bennett," Jack ordered. "All our data, all the footage. He needs to get it back to Earth." Susan nodded and began the transmission. "What about evacuation?" Jack looked at the screens again. The colony's ships were already destroyed. The spaceport was in ruins. "There's nowhere to go." The bunker shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. "Transmission complete," Susan reported. "Northern Star acknowledges receipt." Jack sent a direct message to Bennett. "Get home. Tell them what happened here. Make sure this wasn't for nothing." They watched on the remaining working screen as Bennett's ship carefully navigated away from its hiding spot, using the moon for cover. The small supply vessel went unnoticed by the invaders who were busy with their systematic destruction and collection. For 3 more days, the aliens continued their work. They destroyed every building, harvested every resource, and killed anyone they found. They took samples of everything: plants, animals, technology, and people. Then, as suddenly as they had arrived, they left. 6 days after the attack began, all 7 crystal ships rose from the surface and disappeared into the darkness of space. The colony of New Hope was gone. Where a thriving community of 3 million humans had lived, only scorched earth remained. Paul Bennett watched it all from the Northern Star. He recorded everything his sensors could detect. When he was sure the aliens were gone, he set course for Earth, pushing his engines beyond safe limits. The journey would take years, but humanity needed to know what had happened. As he prepared for the long journey home, Bennett looked one last time at the ruins of New Hope through his viewfinder. Among the devastation, he spotted something that made his blood run cold. The aliens had left a single structure standing, a tall crystal obelisk placed exactly where the colony's central plaza had been. It wasn't a random act of destruction. It was a message. Earth needed to understand that before it was too late. Bennett activated the ship's cryosleep chamber and took one last look at his precious cargo of data. "I'll get this home," he promised the memory of New Hope, "and they'll pay for what they did here." The Northern Star accelerated toward Earth, carrying the news that would forever change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. 4 years had passed since Paul Bennett's ship, the Northern Star, limped into Earth's orbit. His footage of the destruction of New Hope Colony had changed everything. Humanity now knew they were not alone in the universe. They also knew their first alien encounter had been with a species that showed no mercy. Fleet Admiral Olivia Martinez stood at the large window of her office in Earth Defense Headquarters. Below her stretched the massive shipyards that now surrounded Earth's orbit. Where once there had been only communication satellites and research stations, now there were countless construction platforms building warships day and night without pause. "Admiral, the Council is waiting," said her aide, a young lieutenant named Kevin Parker. Olivia nodded. "Tell them I'm on my way." The United Earth Defense Council chamber was a large circular room with 50 seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives from every nation and colony sat waiting as Olivia entered. The room fell silent. These people used to argue about trade agreements and resource allocation. Now they had only one focus: survival. "The Zakthar," Olivia began, using the name they had given the crystalline aliens. Scientists had decoded some of the alien language from signals recorded by Bennett's ship. "We now believe they are part of a larger empire that spans at least 20 star systems." Images appeared on the large screen behind her, showing star maps and the projected territory of the alien civilization. How do we know this? Asked Carl Evans, the representative from the African Union. The alien vessel Bennett recorded sending transmissions was communicating with multiple locations. Our astronomers have identified the likely destinations of those messages. William Harris, the representative from the Martian colonies, leaned forward. And our fleet status? Olivia brought up new images on the screen, hundreds of warships in neat formation. We have completed 47,000 vessels. Another 15,000 are in final stages of construction. A murmur of approval swept through the chamber. Before the New Hope massacre, Earth's combined military fleet had numbered just over 3,000 ships. Most of those had been small patrol vessels or transports with minimal weapons. And the new drive systems? William asked. Frank Rivera and his team have successfully reverse-engineered the Zakthar faster-than-light technology from the fragments Bennett recovered. We call it the Void Drive. The first warships equipped with these drives will be ready for testing next month. The chamber erupted in applause. This was the breakthrough they had been waiting for. Without faster-than-light travel, any hope of taking the fight to the aliens was impossible. What about civilian production? Asked Elena Diaz, representing South America. Every factory on Earth and the colonies has been converted, Olivia replied. The automated shipyards are now building more automated shipyards. Production increases exponentially each month. She didn't mention the cost. The global economy had been completely restructured. Luxury goods no longer existed. Food was rationed. Every resource was directed toward the war effort. Yet strangely, there were few complaints. The footage of New Hope's destruction had united humanity like nothing before. When will we be ready? William asked the question everyone was thinking. Olivia looked at each council member before answering. Current projections indicate we need at least 500,000 ships to launch an effective offensive. At current production rates, we will reach that number in 14 months. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. And if they come before then? Elena asked quietly. We have established early warning systems throughout our solar system. The moment any Zakthar ship enters detection range, our fleet will deploy to defend Earth and the colonies. We are not helpless anymore. The meeting continued for another hour as they discussed resource allocation and training programs. Every human over the age of 16 was now required to complete basic military training. Simulator pods had been built in every city, allowing civilians to practice space combat scenarios that might help them survive if the worst happened. Later that day, Olivia visited one of the orbital shipyards. The massive structure stretched for miles, with robotic arms assembling warships at incredible speed. Each vessel was nearly identical, simple, functional, and heavily armed. They lacked the elegant design of previous human ships, but they could be built quickly and in vast numbers. Frank Rivera met her at the docking bay. The chief engineer had aged visibly in the past 4 years, his hair now completely gray, but his eyes still held the same intensity. Come see our latest addition, he said, leading her through the station. They entered a large chamber where a strange device sat on a testing platform. It was a metallic sphere with glowing blue lines running across its surface. Is this what I think it is? Olivia asked. Frank nodded. Our first successfully built void drive, based on the Zakthar technology but with human improvements. Will it work? In theory, yes. The aliens use it to fold space and create shortcuts between points. Our version is less elegant but more powerful. We've simplified the design and doubled the power output. That sounds dangerous, Olivia observed. Frank smiled grimly. Everything we're doing is dangerous, Admiral, but we have no choice. When can we start installing them in the fleet? Mass production begins next week. Within 2 months, we can have the first 10,000 ships equipped. Olivia placed her hand on the device, feeling a slight vibration. The aliens thought they were sending us a message at New Hope. They wanted to show us our weakness. Instead, they showed us what we needed to become, Frank finished. In a training facility on Mars, Lieutenant Lisa Johnson supervised as civilians practiced combat scenarios. The simulator pods glowed with activity as everyday people, teachers, farmers, office workers, learned how to pilot fighter ships and operate weapon systems. Keep your formation tight, she called to a group struggling with a basic defense pattern. Remember, against the Zikthar, our strength is in numbers. The people trained without complaint. The once peaceful society had transformed. Children now studied combat tactics alongside math and science. Every available resource went toward building ships or training crew members to operate them. In a research lab beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Alan Morris and his team analyzed the few fragments of Zikthar technology they possessed. Each piece was precious, a window into the aliens' technological capabilities. Their crystal structure isn't just for show, Alan explained to his team. It's part of their technology. The lattice patterns channel energy in ways we're just beginning to understand. One of his researchers looked up from a microscope. If we could replicate even part of this, our weapons would be twice as effective. Keep working, Alan urged. We need every advantage we can get. Back on Earth, in what had once been Central Park in New York, a massive memorial had been erected. 3 million lights, one for each person lost at New Hope, illuminated the night. People came daily to remember and to strengthen their resolve. Humanity was preparing for war on a scale never before imagined. The Zikthar had destroyed one colony, believing they were demonstrating their power. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a united human race with a single purpose. And every day more warships joined the growing fleet. 5 years had passed since the destruction of New Hope. Earth and its colonies had transformed beyond recognition. The shipyards circling every planet and moon in the solar system worked day and night. The fleet grew larger every day. Captain Lisa Johnson stood on the observation deck of Earth Command Station. Through the large window, she watched as newly built warships took formation near Jupiter. The gas giant's massive gravity well had become an ideal training ground for fleet maneuvers. Quite a sight, isn't it? Asked Admiral Olivia Martinez, joining her at the window. Lisa nodded. I remember when our biggest fleet had 50 ships. Now I can't even count them all. 578,000 completed vessels, Olivia said. With another 150,000 in production. The ships looked nothing like the sleek, elegant vessels humans had built before the Zikthar attack. These were blocky, practical machines built for one purpose: war. What they lacked in beauty, they made up for in firepower and numbers. Latest intelligence report came in this morning, Olivia said, her voice lower. We've detected unusual activity at the edge of our monitoring network. Lisa turned to face her. The Zikthar? Possibly. Or it could be another species entirely. The universe seems to be more crowded than we thought. Are we moving up the timeline? Olivia handed Lisa a data tablet. You're being promoted to fleet commander. You'll lead the 3rd battle group. 200,000 ships under your command. Lisa stared at the tablet, then back at the admiral. Before the attack on New Hope, she had been a junior officer on a small patrol ship. Now she would command more vessels than had existed in all of human history before the Zikthar. When do we leave? Lisa asked. 2 weeks. Dr. Morris and his team have made a breakthrough with the alien navigation data. We know where to find them now. In the Lunar Research Facility, Dr. Alan Morris worked without rest. His team had finally decoded the star charts found in the fragments of Zikthar technology. On a large holographic display, he mapped out the alien territory. 7 major worlds, he explained to the military officers gathered in his lab. With dozens of smaller colonies and outposts, their home system is here. He pointed to a star, about 40 light-years from Earth. Can our void drives reach it? Asked General Peter Howard. Yes, the new generation drives can make the jump in stages. 3 jumps to reach their outer territories, 5 to reach their home system. Alan zoomed in on one section of the map. We've also decoded their defense network. They have monitoring, stations along these routes, but large gaps here and here. If we take our fleet through these blind spots, we can achieve surprise. The officers studied the map closely. Humanity had spent 5 years preparing for this moment. Now they had the means and the knowledge to strike back. What about their weapons? Peter asked. Alan switched the display to show detailed schematics. Their crystal-based energy weapons are powerful but have limitations. They can't maintain continuous fire, and they have trouble tracking multiple targets simultaneously, which is why our strategy is based on overwhelming numbers, Olivia added as she entered the room. In the massive training facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, over 10,000 ship captains ran combat simulations. They practiced coordinated attacks, defensive formations, and emergency protocols. Each captain would soon command a real vessel in the largest fleet ever assembled. Frank Rivera watched from a control room as the simulations played out. The chief engineer had completed his greatest work, the mass production of void drives for the entire fleet. Every human ship could now match the Zakhthar's faster-than-light capability. "They're ready," he said to Olivia when she joined him. "The ships and the people." "Are any of us truly ready for what's coming?" she asked quietly. Frank shook his head. "No. But we don't have a choice. We either fight or wait for them to find us again." On Mars, the last group of civilian volunteers boarded transport ships bound for Earth. These weren't soldiers but support personnel, engineers, medics, and technicians who would maintain the fleet and care for the wounded. Among them was Sam Miller, once a schoolteacher, now trained in emergency medicine. "Do you think we'll win?" asked a young woman sitting next to him as their transport lifted off. Sam looked out the window at the red Martian landscape below. "I think we have to." The woman nodded. Like everyone in the solar system, she had watched the footage of New Hope's destruction countless times. The images were used in schools and training centers to remind everyone what they were fighting for. Back on Earth, in a secure underground facility, intelligence officer Samantha Reeves made the final breakthrough that would change everything. For years, she had worked to decode the Zakthar communications captured by Paul Bennett's ship. "Admiral," she said when Olivia answered her urgent call, "I found it, the reason they attacked New Hope." Hours later, Olivia stood before the Defense Council with Samantha's findings. "The Zakthar are a resource-gathering species," she explained to the silent room. "They move through space, harvesting what they need from planets and moons. Usually these are uninhabited worlds." "But New Hope was obviously inhabited," said William Harris, the Martian representative. "Yes, and that's the point. According to what we've decoded, the Zakthar didn't see our colony as a civilization. They classified us as an infestation, a pest species that had contaminated resources they wanted to harvest." The room was silent as everyone processed this information. "They didn't destroy New Hope as an act of war," Olivia continued. "They did it as pest control. They never expected us to be capable of fighting back." "Well," said William with grim determination, "they're about to learn how wrong they were." In the following days, the final preparations moved at incredible speed. Supplies were loaded onto support vessels. Weapons were checked and rechecked. The fleet gathered in formation beyond the orbit of Pluto, ready for the void jump that would take them to Zakthar space. Lisa Johnson stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Remembrance. Around her, officers monitored systems and communicated with the thousands of ships under her command. "Fleet status?" she asked her second-in-command, Commander Greg Foster. "All ships report ready, Fleet Commander. Battle Groups 1 and 2 are in position. The support fleet is standing by." Lisa opened a channel to Admiral Martinez's command vessel. "Third battle group ready for jump, Admiral." "Good," came Olivia's reply. "Remember your training. Remember New Hope. And remember we are fighting not just for revenge, but for the right of humanity to exist in this universe." Lisa looked at the main view screen showing the vast armada stretching out in all directions. Human ingenuity and determination had created this fleet from almost nothing in just 5 years. "Prepare for void jump," she ordered. "Target coordinates locked. All ships stand by." Space rippled as the first wave of human warships activated their void drives. In perfect formation, they vanished from the solar system, bound for Zakthar territory. Operation Remembrance had begun. The Zakthar had destroyed one colony. Now humanity would show them exactly what that mistake had cost them. The void between stars rippled as 200,000 human warships emerged at the edge of Zakthar space. Fleet Commander Lisa Johnson stood on the bridge of the Remembrance, watching as her tactical display confirmed the successful arrival of the third battle group. All ships accounted for, reported Commander Greg Foster. Void jump completed with 99% efficiency. Lisa nodded. The human-built void drives had performed even better than expected. Status of Zukthar defenses? Their outer monitoring station is 3 light minutes away. No indication they've detected us yet. This was the moment they had trained for. 5 years of preparation, of building ships, of learning everything possible about their enemy. Now they would see if it was enough. Launch scout drones, Lisa ordered. Then prepare the fleet for combat formation Alpha. Small, unmanned craft, shot forward from the human vessels. These drones would give them eyes on the Zukthar defenses without risking manned ships. First wave, prepare for advance, Lisa said into the fleet-wide communication system. Remember your training. The Zukthar have superior individual ships, but they've never faced anything like our numbers. The scout drones sent back their first images. The Zukthar monitoring station was an elegant crystal structure floating in space. It glittered in the light of a distant star, beautiful but alien. Around it patrolled 7 crystal ships similar to those that had destroyed New Hope. They still don't see us, Greg said with surprise. Their detection systems must not be designed to find ships emerging from void space. Then we use that advantage, Lisa replied. All ships prepare for short-range void jumps, attack pattern sunburst. The human fleet split into 50 groups. Each group would jump to a different position around the Zukthar station, surrounding it completely. Jump in 3, 2, 1, execute. Space rippled again as the fleet vanished. Seconds later, they reappeared around the Zukthar station, weapons already firing. The alien defenders had no time to react. Their 7 patrol ships were hit by thousands of missiles and energy beams simultaneously. 3 exploded immediately. The others attempted to raise shields, but the sheer volume of fire overwhelmed their defenses. Station's communications array is targeted, Greg reported. Firing now. A concentrated barrage from 20 human ships struck the crystal spires that served as the station's communication system. The delicate structures shattered, ensuring no warning could be sent to the rest of the Zukthar territory. All enemy ships destroyed, Greg announced. Station defenses neutralized. Lisa watched as the remaining crystal structure drifted helplessly in space. Boarding teams move in. I want any data they have. Then plant charges to destroy the station. Special forces teams in heavily armored shuttles approached the alien station. These soldiers had trained for years to fight in the Zukthar environment. They carried weapons specifically designed to combat the crystalline aliens. While the boarding action continued, Lisa opened a channel to Admiral Martinez on the command ship with the 1st Battle Group. 3rd Battle Group reporting, Admiral, first objective secured. The enemy had no chance to warn their inner systems. Well done, came Olivia's voice. 1st and 2nd Battle Groups have secured their targets as well. Proceed to Phase 2. The plan was working perfectly. Humanity had achieved complete surprise. The Zukthar never expected an attack, especially not one of this scale. The boarding teams returned with valuable data cores from the station. As they cleared the area, demolition charges detonated, turning the beautiful crystal structure into a cloud of glittering fragments. Fleet, prepare for next void jump, Lisa ordered. Target is Zukthar mining outpost XB7. The massive human fleet vanished again, pushing deeper into enemy territory. At each jump point, the pattern repeated. Overwhelming human forces appeared, suddenly around Zukthar positions. The aliens never had time to mount an effective defense or send warnings. By the 3rd day of the offensive, the humans had destroyed more than 50 Zukthar outposts and way stations. The path to the core worlds lay open. In her private quarters, Lisa reviewed the latest battle reports. Human casualties were minimal, just 28 ships lost out of thousands deployed. The Zukthar were clearly unprepared for war on this scale. They never imagined we could strike back, she said to Greg as they planned the next attack. They thought we were just another primitive species to be harvested and forgotten. Their mistake, Greg replied grimly. The 4th day brought the first real resistance. As the human fleet approached a major Zukthar colony world, they encountered a defensive force of 300 crystal ships arranged in a complex formation. They're finally organizing a defense. Lisa observed as the scout drones sent back images. This will be our first true test. The Zekathar ships were larger and more advanced than human vessels. Each one could likely destroy multiple human ships in direct combat. But there were 300 of them against 20,000 in Lisa's battle group alone. All ships, attack pattern Delta, Lisa ordered. Target their command vessels first. The human fleet surged forward in waves. The first wave drew Zekathar fire, allowing the second and third waves to maneuver into firing positions. Human ships fell as the powerful alien weapons found their targets. But for each human vessel destroyed, 50 more moved in to take its place. The bridge of the Remembrance shook as a glancing hit from a Zekathar weapon struck their shields. Shields at 60%, reported the tactical officer. Enemy targeting systems are focusing on command ships. Evasive maneuvers, Lisa ordered. Execute microjumps to confuse their targeting. The Remembrance vanished and reappeared 2,000 kilometers away, along with 100 escort vessels. The Zekathar weapons fired at their previous position, hitting nothing but empty space. This tactic proved devastatingly effective. The human ships performed short, unpredictable void jumps, appearing briefly to fire all weapons before jumping again. The Zekathar targeting systems couldn't keep up with thousands of ships blinking in and out of position. Their formation is breaking, Greg announced with growing excitement. Their left flank is collapsing. Lisa leaned forward watching the tactical display. All ships in sectors 3 through 7 concentrate fire on the breach. 5,000 human vessels poured fire into the gap in the Zekathar formation. More alien ships exploded, creating further confusion in their defense. The battle lasted just 4 hours. When it ended, the Zekathar defense fleet was destroyed. The colony world lay exposed to the human armada. Unlike the Zekathar at New Hope, Lisa did not order the destruction of the alien colony. Instead, she sent a message, the first communication between humans and Zekathar. This is Fleet Commander Lisa Johnson of the United Earth Fleet. We are here in response to your unprovoked attack on our colony at Epsilon Eridani. Your defenses are destroyed. Your world lies at our mercy. But unlike you, we do not destroy planets simply because we can. Surrender your military installations, and your civilian population will be spared. The response came an hour later. The Zekathar surrendered. As human forces secured the planet, Lisa received a priority message from Admiral Martinez. The first and second battle groups had achieved similar victories. The path to the Zekathar homeworld now lay open. Prepare the fleet for the final jump, Lisa told her officers. The real test is still ahead of us. The combined human battle, groups over 600,000 ships, gathered for the assault on the Zekathar home system. This would be the decisive battle, the one that would determine if humanity had truly won its right to exist among the stars. Lisa looked at the faces of her bridge crew. They had come so far from the frightened species that had watched helplessly as New Hope burned. Now they brought with them the largest fleet ever assembled, a testament to human determination and the mistake the Zekathar had made in underestimating them. For New Hope, she said quietly, let's finish this. The Zekathar home system was more beautiful than anyone had expected. 7 planets orbited a bright blue star. The 4th planet, the Zekathar homeworld, glittered like a giant crystal in space. Massive cities covered its surface, all built from the same crystalline material as their ships. Admiral Olivia Martinez stood on the bridge of her command ship, the Vindication. The combined human fleet had gathered at the edge of the system, over 700,000 warships in perfect formation. It was the largest concentration of military power ever assembled by any species. They've detected us, reported her tactical officer. Zekathar defense fleet is moving to intercept. Count is 3,000 vessels. Olivia studied the tactical display. The Zekathar ships were arranged in a complex defensive pattern. They were larger and more advanced than human vessels, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Open a channel to all ships, Olivia ordered. This is Admiral Martinez to all fleet commanders. The moment we have waited for has arrived. The Zikathar destroyed one of our colonies and killed 3 million innocent people. They believed we were weak, that we were pests to be exterminated without thought. Today we show them how wrong they were." She paused, looking at the image of the alien homeworld on her view screen. "But remember, we are not here just for revenge. We fight for humanity's right to exist in this universe. We fight to ensure no human colony ever suffers the fate of New Hope again. Commence attack Plan Omega." The human fleet split into 5 massive battle groups. Each group contained more ships than the entire Zikathar defense force. They moved forward in waves, just as they had trained for years to do. The space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons and missile contrails. The Zikathar fired first, their powerful weapons cutting through the first wave of human ships. Dozens of vessels exploded or drifted powerless, but for each human ship destroyed, 100 more moved forward. The sheer volume of return fire overwhelmed the Zikathar defenses. Their formation began to break under the pressure of attacks coming from multiple directions. On the bridge of the Remembrance, Fleet Commander Lisa Johnson directed her battle group in a flanking maneuver. "Their right side is weakening," she told her officers. "Push through there and target their command ships." The Remembrance and its escort vessels performed a series of short-range void jumps, appearing behind the Zikathar line. Their sudden arrival threw the alien defenders into confusion. Human weapons fire concentrated on the largest crystal ships, shattering their elegant structures. For 17 days, the battle raged throughout the Zikathar home system. The aliens fought with increasing desperation as the human fleet pushed inexorably toward their homeworld. They deployed hidden weapon platforms. They sacrificed smaller colonies to slow the human advance. They used tactics that seemed suicidal, throwing ships directly into human formations. Nothing worked. The human fleet was simply too large, too determined, and too prepared. Every tactic the Zikathar tried had been anticipated during the 5 years of planning and training. By the 18th day, the human fleet surrounded the Zikathar homeworld. The remains of the alien defense force, less than 500 ships, formed a protective ring around the planet. Admiral Martinez opened a communication channel to the leaders of the Zikathar. "Your defenses are broken. Your fleet is destroyed. We have the power to do to your world what you did to our colony at New Hope. Surrender now or face extinction." Hours passed with no response. The human fleet maintained position, weapons ready. Finally, a transmission came from the planet's surface. The image showed a tall, crystalline being, nearly twice the height of a human. Its body was formed of interlocking crystal segments that shifted and changed as it moved. When it spoke, its entire form vibrated, producing sounds that the translation system converted to human language. "I am the supreme hierarch of the Zikathar hegemony. We accept your terms of surrender. Our remaining ships will power down weapons." The bridge crew of the Vindication cheered, but Olivia raised her hand for silence. "Why did you attack our colony?" she asked the alien leader. "Why kill 3 million innocent people who pose no threat to you?" The hierarch's crystal body shifted colors, showing bands of deep blue and purple. "Your colony was harvesting resources we had already claimed. We did not recognize you as a sentient species capable of negotiation. This was an error in judgment. An error that cost 3 million lives," Olivia said coldly. "Yes, an error we now understand. But I must ask, why did you build so many ships? You could have constructed a smaller number of superior vessels." Olivia's answer was simple: "Because you destroyed one colony." 3 days later, representatives from Earth met with the Zikathar leadership on a neutral space station. Admiral Martinez, Fleet Commander Johnson, and Dr. Morris represented humanity. The Supreme Hierarch and 6 crystal advisors represented the Zikathar. The terms of surrender were clear. The Zikathar would dismantle their military. Human observers would remain in their territory to ensure compliance. The aliens would provide reparations for the destruction of New Hope, including technology and resources. "And one more condition," Olivia added at the end. "You will help us rebuild New Hope Colony, not as it was, but as a joint human-Zikthar settlement, a symbol that different species can coexist. The Supreme Hierarch's body flashed with changing colors as it considered this unexpected demand. You do not wish to destroy our worlds as we destroyed yours? You have the power to do so. Lisa Johnson answered. That's the difference between us. We didn't come here to exterminate your species. We came to ensure you never threaten ours again. The Hierarch's crystals shifted to a deep gold color. Then we have much to learn from humans. We accept all terms. 5 years later, Paul Bennett stood on a hillside overlooking the new settlement, on Epsilon Eridani IV. Where New Hope had once stood, a new city now spread across the landscape. Some buildings were of human design, practical and sturdy. Others were crystalline structures that caught the light of the alien sun. Human and Zakathar moved through the streets together. The joint colony was thriving, a model for cooperation between the two species. I never thought I'd come back here, Paul said to Admiral Martinez, who had joined him for the 5th anniversary memorial. None of us could have imagined this outcome, she replied. From one destroyed colony to a new era of peace. They walked to the central plaza where a monument stood, a simple stone obelisk engraved with the names of the 3 million people lost in the original attack. Around the monument, human and Zakathar gathered for the remembrance ceremony. The massive human fleet still existed, though much reduced in size. Most of the warships had been converted to exploration vessels or colony ships. Humanity was expanding throughout the galaxy, establishing new colonies on distant worlds. Other alien species had been encountered, some friendly, some cautious. But none had shown hostility, not after hearing what had happened to the Zakathar when they destroyed one human colony. The memorial ended as night fell. Paul looked up at the stars, knowing that human ships were traveling between them, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species that had nearly been exterminated before it could reach its potential. We came so close to losing everything, he said, quietly. But instead we gained the universe, Olivia replied. Because when pushed to the edge, we showed what humanity is truly capable of. On a small hill overlooking the new colony, a simple plaque had been placed. It bore no names, no dates, just a short message that summarized everything that had happened. They destroyed one colony. We answered with 700,000 warships. And then, we chose peace.